This is Radio TV Phono Nut, and I need to kind of build you up to something before I show you what this is. I don't want you to have this sprung on you all at once and have a heart attack. This is something that I picked up somewhere cheap. It's been in my boneyard for probably 2 years now. Really wasn't that interested in messing with it. In other words, it wasn't high up on the priority list, but someone I know who I was telling about this asked me to do a video on it. They wanted to see what the insides of one looked like. So here it is. This is a Crosley Junk-O-Matic, Stack-O-Matic record player from 2009. I've already got it halfway torn apart. There's your two speakers there, although you're not going to get much stereo separation with them that close together, and the little amplifier PC board is under there. We'll get a better look at it in a minute. It looks like the same amp that's used in some of the older model manually operated record player. What is it? CR49, I believe, is the model number. Here's the record changer, all plastic. We'll get it out here in just a minute and look at something very revealing about it. There's a better look at the amplifier board. Now, looking at the underside of this record changer, it's pretty much an exact copy of the standard BSR mechanism that was in use from about 1969 until the early 80s, when BSR stopped making record changers. The biggest difference I see in the older BSR and this one is the older BSR used an AC motor idler driven system. This one uses a DC motor and is belt driven. The BSR had the speed change lever right here where the Crosley badge is. On this one, the speed change lever is over here on the left. But everything is pretty much basically the same. In fact, I could probably take a BSR and pull parts off of it and put on this one if needed be. Now, I've heard of some people actually removing this plastic craptastic record changer and replacing it with an older BSR. I could do that on this one, but frankly, it's really not worth the effort. And it would take some modification because this runs off of a DC 12-volt wall wart, and what I would have to do in order to install a regular BSR in here is I'd have to build a power supply, a DC power supply, to mount inside of the record player to power the amplifier, and replace this 12-volt DC input jack with an AC input jack, and make the necessary wiring to changes to power the record changer motor, which I'm not going to go to all that much trouble on this. Like I said, it's not worth it. Now, I don't know how many years they made this, but it wasn't very long. I think it was discontinued in something like 2010. And I can imagine why, because this was a more expensive model and cost more to build, so therefore profits weren't as high, and I don't think these sold nearly as well as the other pieces of junk, the manually operated ones. But this probably is the last consumer record changer ever made. You can see the fine craftsmanship here. Hinge is not on straight. That appears to be a little crooked too, which brings us to a common problem with these, the crappy DC input jack. Usually what happens with these, and I've seen this a lot on the manual players that use this type of jack, is the cheap plastic mounting studs will break off, and then the jack ends up dangling out the hole, and then the wires break off and need to be resoldered. How I fixed this problem before is to shear off what's left of these studs and either drill or use an old soldering iron that you don't care about and melt some holes in this jack here and then bolt it to the case of the record player, and then it will be much more sturdy than what it was with these little cheap plastic studs here. Now, I don't know how many models Crosley made that featured the record changer. I know of 3. This portable job, which looks very much like a early 1950s web core. Of course, the web core was 10,000 times better than this thing is. And by the way, this also, the case and where the amplifier is placed and the knobs and all that look just like the last issue Caliphone school record player, the, what is it, 1005 AV, that I think they just recently discontinued. The only difference is the Caliphone has a manually operated mechanism, not a changer. If I can never find one of those cheap, I'll pick one up, but you know, it's going to have to be cheap or I'm not going to fool with it. Okay, so they made a portable with a changer. They made a wooden tabletop version, which I also have. It actually looks pretty nice with a changer. Picked that one up cheap too. And they also made the version with the AM/FM radio and CD and cassette and all that, which in my mind is probably the worst piece of crap that Crosley ever made, because the CD player usually craps out first thing and then everything else is not far behind. Alright, before I permanently mount this, I'm going to solder the wire back on and plug our power supply into this and see if it works. I'm not going to go to a lot of repair effort on this. The main reason I'm even doing this video is because my friend wanted to see the insides of one, so here we go. Alright, we have the wires soldered back on and heat shrink tubing ran over the wires to kind of give them a little strain relief. We have our sacrificial soldering iron that we're going to use for melting the holes in here. You don't really want to use your main soldering iron for that. Don't want to mess up the tip with melted plastic, but I think everybody has some old pieces of crap pencil soldering irons laying around, so use them for that. Alright, there we are, bolted in place. That should never give any problems again. Much sturdier than what it was originally. Alright, here we go. It really don't sound too bad considering what it is. Pots need cleaning. Alright, this thing definitely doesn't have much torque. Now, a new belt might solve the problem, but honestly, with a little cheap DC motor, I don't see how it has enough power to even run this through the chain cycle. And that's one area where they could have done better. They could have at least built this with an AC motor, but I know why they didn't. Like I think I've already said, it's cheaper to put a DC motor in it. And since these things were sold all over the world, as in to be used on different AC line voltages and frequencies, they had to design one that would operate on 12-volt DC from a wall wart. So, yeah, let's load this thing up with records and just see what it does. See if it has enough torque to play the stack. And regarding these record changers, I've heard a couple of stories about how they came to be. The first story I heard was that sometime in the 80s, BSR was bought out by some Chinese company, And I can believe that because there were some last gasp record changers in the mid to late 80s that had the BSR branding on them, but the internals were clearly nothing like a traditional BSR mechanism. And I heard that the same Chinese company that bought BSRs who made these changers, and I've also heard that whatever Chinese company built these Crosleys simply just took an old BSR changer and copied the design. And I'm sure the patents of our patent rights have already played out on this already, so I don't know. Let's run this through and see what it does. I can definitely hear the motor bogging down. And I'm hearing a little wow and flutter on the first record.
I am a lineman for the count.
Yeah. I think that's more of one record sliding on another.
So I sing you to sleep after the loving day.
I think I can get a belt for about $9 on eBay, free shipping. I might order one just to see, but I'm not going to invest much time or money in this thing. It's probably going to be something that I'm going to either give to somebody or try to sell it and get my investment back out of it, which isn't much. I certainly wouldn't try to put this on eBay. It'd probably cost more to ship than it's worth. Maybe since it's branded the C word, I can advertise it on the local Facebook, baby clothes, and cell phone pages, and somebody will take it off my hands. Now, like other Crosleys, this has 3 speeds, but only an LP needle. I could order a 78 needle and physically swap the 2 out between record types, but that's too much trouble. I could also replace the cartridge with one with a flip needle. And this is the cartridge with a flip needle, a Fan Steel P192D, available from the VM website. Or the same cartridge is sold under the, I believe it's the BANPA, B-A-N-P-A or B-A-M-P-A brand on eBay. I ordered one off of eBay, and it was supposed to have an LP78 flip needle, but it was actually dual LP, even though the other side was marked as 78, but a BSR needle fits it. So if I was keeping this for my own use, I'd go ahead and put this cartridge in there, but for something I'm going to be getting rid of, most likely getting rid of for a low amount of money, I'm not going to keep investing money in this thing. You know, with shipping, the cartridge is about $20, and then the belt will be about $9, plus whatever I paid for this thing. I don't even remember, don't want to remember, but at any rate, with a cartridge and needle, I'd have at least, roughly $30 in the thing, and don't even know if I could get that much out of it around here. Just for the heck of it, let's just see what it does on 78. Even though it's the wrong needle, don't matter for this test. Despite that being an LP needle, it sounds pretty good. And of course we also have this buzz that you can hear, more so with the volume up. It's not as bad with the music playing, but that's just a result of a poorly designed amplifier and the lack of shielding in the signal path.
Baby got a new girl who can take him where he wants to go. Maybe my baby's got a new lover and I'm me.
Alright, so there you go, the Crosley Junk-O-Matic, Stack-O-Matic. Probably going to spring for a belt. You see that improves our wow and flutter any. And then that's all I'm going to do to this. And here it is back together. This panel here was a pain in the butt to get back in there. Very tight fitting. And by the way, an old BSR flat 45 adapter will work on these. That's just how close the two changers are. Alright, there you go. Enough on this. We'll get back to something old later.